Hello and welcome to episode 46. Can you believe it? Of our
46.
Conversations to Connect. Let's get real talk, powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm CyndiONeill-Dady, the Chief Connector and founder of Exceptional Connections since 2009. And at Exceptional Connections, we offer intentional and innovative networking solutions to boost your business. The way this works is each month we nominate a different member of our community to have meaningful conversations with. So be sure to make yourself comfortable with a cup of tea or a beverage of your choice, and take notes, and be sure to add comments and questions in the chat box to engage with us as we have this meaningful conversation. So about the 45-minute mark, I'll unmute the lines and invite our listeners to ask questions, share your ahas, your epiphanies, and of course, enter into our thought-provoking conversation. So the inspiration of our Conversations to Connect, Let's Get Real Talks, is to create purposeful conversations, right? We desire to be relevant during these challenging and uncertain times, and we're moving from virtual to in-person events, which is great. And we want to be able to support our community to make an impact in the world and stay connected. So as I get started here, I invite you to set aside distractions and invest yourself and your attention into the conversation that's about to unfold, so you don't cheat yourself out of the time that you're invested here. And our Conversation to Connect this week is with wonderful Morrison from Bellevue, Washington. Welcome, wonderful. So excited. And I'm looking forward to our conversation about an abundant life unleashed.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Cyndi, for having me. Hello, everyone. Hi, Chuck. Hi, Diane. I miss you. Hello, Leah. And it's nice to meet Heather and your partner in crime there, who?
Charlie.
Charlie. Okay. I'm so glad to be here. And I don't know if there's anything else I want to, if there's any other words to describe my relationship with Cyndi, because it's far beyond business. She has been such an incredible mentor for me in her health. I'm a big health journey person, and in spirituality, and in just being a mom and a wife and a woman in business and online business. And she's just also been such an incredible, incredible, incredible friend and ally in the fight for not letting COVID take us down.
That's right. We're still here.
Going.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Wonderful. Well, it's mutual. And before we dive into this really intriguing conversation, I really want to take a moment to honor wonderful to our listeners, those that are live and those who are listening to this on the replay and YouTube, and just, tell you a little bit more about wonderful and her passion for helping women. So wonderful Morrison, birth name, not stage name, is a business leadership coach, founder, and CEO of LeadHER Academy based in Bellevue, Washington. And she believes that entrepreneurship doesn't have to be so hard. And I love that she's here to help us all. So wonderful teaches savvy, soulful, and smart women and guys. Chuck's on the line too. He's here to glean wisdom from wonderful as well, to uncomplicate their businesses so they can work less and live more. So wonderful is a mother of 3 adult children, 2 girls, 27 and 25, and a boy, 21. You never know that. You're too young for kids that age. She's a grandmother of 2.5. Is the bun still in the oven? Still have another one?
Unfortunately, not anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. So she has 2 beautiful granddaughters, and she's been called a wife to the love of her life for 27 years. She loves libraries. Sign me up for that. Museums, classical music. I don't know about the ramen. She says not top ramen. It's ramen champagne?
No, ramen, like real ramen, is not top ramen at all. And I could
Okay.
literally eat it every day for the rest of my life if that was the only meal left.
Okay. All right. So she says champagne and crystal clear ocean beaches. Having run multiple successful businesses over 2 decades, she uses her wealth of experience helping women entrepreneurs get results. LeadHER Academy is the premier source for online education aimed at women entrepreneurs, coaches, leaders, focused on improving leadership skills, business knowledge through unparalleled online groups, one-on-one training courses, and events. So thank you so much, wonderful, for being on this conversation to connect with me today. And for our listeners, if you can just mute yourself, that would be awesome for now. And then I will unmute us all. Again, take advantage of the chat, put your contact information in there. Feel free to ask questions. And we'll address them at the end, but we want to keep this an open conversation with you guys. So wonderful. As we get going here, before we get going, please share with our listeners a bit more about your journey, because you have a long and colorful journey. You've been through so much, you've learned so much, and we're just really grateful to be the benefactories of what you've been through in your life and how it can benefit us as well.
Man, that could be like this whole talk. Okay, but I'm going to keep it short. So when my husband and I were in 22, we came across an opportunity to be business owners, but neither of us were in that realm at all. I was going to school to be a journalist. I really wanted to be a war correspondent. I wanted to get, because I grew up when what was on the news was Beirut and the Berlin Wall being taken down. I know I'm aging myself, but that was really big stuff. And I remember thinking, wow, to be a part of sort of that hubbub. And then when I went back to school in the Philippines in high school, it was during the time where they were banishing the current president of 20 years, Marcos, and his family. And I was in the middle of all of that. So I really have an affinity to be in that chaotic space. And my husband was going to school to be a teacher, and the opportunity of business came up. And, when you're 22, you feel like 24 hours is nothing. I only need a couple hours of sleep. So we decided to jump in, and that's sort of where the journey begins of this young, idealistic, ambitious, energy-filled couple decided, let's take on business. And through all of that journey is where the fruits of the labor of my programs and services come from today. So there it
Beautiful.
is.
Yeah, that gives us just a background of, you had real life experience as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Small business owner. And all right.
And then I went back to school for it when my oldest daughter was in high school, just to see if having a business degree supports, running a business. And it's a 50-50.
Yeah, because there's the theory and then the actual boots on the ground, like building a business and learning from scratch. I see some heads shaking here that they understand, there's nothing like getting in there and rolling up your sleeves and getting to work, right?
Yeah. Application is such a different format than just case studies of businesses, but it was helpful.
Right. Absolutely. And so what it has done, though, is, being in the trenches, you understand what business owners, their pain points and what their successes and how important that is. So we're so honored to have you be able to kind of take us through that journey of what you've learned. So your talk today is an abundant life unleashed. So go ahead and just take us through you have a 3-step process you want to share with us.
I do. And I wanted to kind of share where it's birthed from, because I think the word abundance is, especially in the online world of coaching, right, and service providers, the word abundance is it's a word that is used in a lot of marketing, a lot of promotions, a lot of content throughout social media and any kind of online presence. But I think that I want to kind of paint the picture of what abundance is not, right? Abundance isn't a word you just throw around as if it's like it fits really well in an awesome sentence. It really has it occupies a lot of space, abundance. And it is a scary sort of journey because we can logically understand what abundance is, but to live it is a different space. So this 3-point that I'm making in Unleashing Abundant Life is really what I live now. Like I've always known what an abundant life is logically. I've read about it. There's a ton of stuff out there, but to actually live it is a different space. And it has very little to do with my bank account or how many clients I have. It's really more about that space of freedom, the freedom of abundance.
Yeah. And mindset as well, right?
Oh, 100 bajillion %.
Yeah, I don't have the quote, verbatim, but I think it's Marianne Williams. It says, we are more intimidated by success than failure sometimes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that kind of the abundance plays into that, how it could be, it's a wonderful thing. We all want that, but it could be very daunting as well.
Right. And so like 5 years ago, what brought this on now is a little over 5 years ago, our business was at the height. My husband and I owned a brick and mortar business, multiple businesses at the time, and was really at that point in our lives where we were no longer in the grind. We were just in that space of like the systems are flowing, our processes, we had enough support, we had hired employees, we were really in this good space. And as life presents itself, a tornado and a windstorm came swooping in before COVID actually hit. And it was in the space of deep betrayal. My niece had decided that she deserved the business more than we did, and did this very slow process of takeover. So we didn't really see it. And plus you don't want to see it because she's my niece and she was almost like my first child, right? And she was very close to the family and I didn't want to admit it. And I was just in that space of like, no way, until we couldn't get into the accounts and into our physical building anymore because she had changed out locks and had closed the financial accounts to that. And that's when it really hit me. And that level of betrayal was really here. I thought I was living an abundant life, right? Like our business was making great money. We had raised our children on this income and had the lifestyle that was pretty amazing to, in terms of self-made. And then boom, it's just gone, like disappears. And then you have to really decide, do I want to go into a legal battle over this? So the birth of these 3 points in that space came from pain, deep, deep level of pain. And so that's why to me, abundance isn't just your bank account or like how many friends you have and who's following you and how many likes your post. It's really the mindset and the space of life is going to be okay. Tornado hits me again. Guess what? I am rooted in the ground.
Yes.
So
yeah. And pain in the form of betrayal is like double whammy, right? When it's family and the trust factor, gosh.
Yeah. And just and it was really the other painful part is how quickly who you thought were friends didn't side with you. Like immediately listened to everything she had to say and believed it. And I thought, oh, wow. Okay. So I lost an entire community as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Just another layer of betrayal. Gosh, I'm so sorry. That's tough. And, the good news is you're here and you're thriving and, all the lessons that you've learned, we can benefit from as a community as well.
And that's really what it comes down to, is because I wasn't in that space. My entire goal then, like right before I met you, Cyndi, my entire goal was to go get a warehouse job and drink and consume alcohol like 24 hours a day. That was like my goal. Like I was going to be this, like, you know, I don't have to explain that space for most of us, right? There's been a moment in our lives where that kind of is a thought and a very serious one at that. I just wasn't very good at the drinking part or the warehouse job part. I sucked at it. Thank God.
It was a temptation, but it wasn't something that you acted on. But, you know, we all have those, you know, dark moments of the soul, you know, kind of times where it's like, oh God, oh God, oh God. But, you know, it's always encouraging when you can get on the other side of that and then have the energy to be able to share with other people. There's hope. Like, don't give up, you know,
Absolutely.
and encouragement to business owners to stay in the game. So I've just been looking forward to this conversation so much, because you bring so much positivity, but you also, you know, temper it with, like, it hasn't always been easy.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's what I think these conversations are important, number one, because social media has given us a way to sort of mimic the facade, right? Even though the constant language on social media is be authentic, be real, be honest, and yet we're not sharing a balanced space of hard work and result.
Right.
It's always just about what you can have and what it is. And oh my gosh, I'm in Jamaica Monday, and then I'm in London on Tuesday. And oftentimes I always think, how y'all afford those trips so constantly, right? Like, where is this coming from? So I feel like there has to be a great balance where we're sharing the truth of the challenges of business, but also showing the fruits of, like, oh my God, I made my first $20,000 a month, because that's a real thing. It's just not as consistent as it shows up on social media.
Well, especially in the beginning when you're building a business, you have to ramp up. That's the reality of it.
Right. And it's a long game. Business is not like, oh, I start on Tuesday and then I'm successful, you know, next Tuesday. It's the long game. There's so much that's involved in growing a business, and a lot of moving parts that isn't communicated in the real space.
Yeah. I love the term long game. And I also think of, you know, I'm a visual person. So I think of like a marathon where, you know, we're out we're running a marathon. We have to pace ourselves. We're not in a sprint. You know, so all those analogies are really, to me, helpful to ground myself when I'm going through difficult times in my business or personal life. You know, I'm here I'm not going anywhere, you know? And so, all right. So we're in a place where we're wanting to take charge, right? Take charge of ourselves. And so take us through kind of how you created the 3 steps to unleash your abundant life.
So in the beginning, as I was trying to figure out, ladies and gentlemen, I had zero intention of being a business coach. I didn't even know this thing existed. I just happened to have friends who kept calling me who were in business, who were asking how they should do certain things, right? And I was like, oh, and then my son says one day, is this your new job? Like, you're on the phone? And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but okay. So I looked it up, and what I found is entrepreneurship, and especially from us women, right? It's just different. We do sales differently. We communicate this idea of relationship business differently. We see branding and marketing in a different space. It's not as linear as what it looks like based on models that are shown out there, right? Like the Microsofts and the direct sales, all of that has a very clear idea of a business model. But in the online space, and when you're creating new conversations like women in leadership, right? It's a need, but it's a very new space. And what does that really look like? How do you create that space for people? What are they learning? So it really stemmed from there. And then I honestly changed my title 800 times. When I first met Cyndi, I was like a business strategist, and then I was a business consultant, but none of those really had an appeal to me because I'm not strong on that mindset space. My business is focused on creating a plan and creating a strategy to grow your visibility in branding, to create a comprehensive marketing plan, and then to lead yourself in business through that, right? So, and what I found is how we have an abundant business, which ultimately is the outcome of an abundant life, is we have to have some place we're focused in. And that's the thing with us ladies. I mean, we typically, they say science-wise is like 100 and bajillion thoughts a minute. That's such an exaggerated statistic. However, we think so many thoughts just minute by minute that what do you actually really focus on? Like, what do you focus on as an entrepreneur and as a woman who's also a wife, who's also a mother, who's also PTA president, who's also choir chaperone, who's also homeschooling, right? These are all of the pieces. And I think one of the spaces we need to focus in on is our life making us a victim to its circumstance, or is life pushing us towards taking responsibility for what we want? Right.
That's a really important first step, is what are we focusing on, right?
Yes.
And again, victim or responsibility, those are different ends of the spectrum for sure. And I've found myself going, touching one and the other, but where do you want to land, right?
Right.
And part of that is, what you were saying is just to know what you're created for, why are we here?
Right. And so many, when I first started on tackling being an online business coach, so much of the conversations around growing a business and being a woman is just so many ideas and so many directions business can go. But then there's this real nagging piece too, called we have to make money. We have to earn an income, right? Because finance is a direct result of how we measure whether it's a business or not. Everything else is kind of like a hobby or a charity. If you're putting yourself out there and but no one's buying your products or services, that's literally called a hobby, right?
Right.
And so, but the interesting thing is a lot of businesses don't have their numbers in place either. So then it's like, well, what are your numbers? And then they're being a victim to the circumstance that, oh, it'll just work itself out. I don't know any business that functions that way.
Right.
Legitimate, income producing, profit making, impact creating in their industry by just being passive about it, right? We have to have a plan to create.
There you go. That's the word I was just thinking about, is the difference between, so when people are starting a business and they need to make money, what I've found, I'd love to hear your input on this, is people go into desperation. And so that's a problem, because people could smell desperation on you, and then it actually works in reverse, where it hurts your opportunity to build your business. But if you have a plan and you're executing your plan, then your business has an opportunity to scale and grow and actually be profitable, right?
Yeah, but then that's also a really scary thing, because then when you're putting a plan together, you're literally choosing. You're
Yes.
choosing to be successful. And again, success carries a lot more weight than failure, because failure is like a learning lesson or just don't do anything. But success demands more of you. It wants you to show up more. It's asking you to be more prepared. It's asking you to ask for help, right? That's why really successful people have mentors. None of them are doing it on their own. They have an entire team. Like when you told me you have a medical team, or no, a health team, I was like, oh, that's fascinating. It involves a chiropractor, a massage therapist, not the traditional version of a medical team. And I thought that's brilliant, because if you don't take care of your body, how can you run a successful business?
Oh yeah, I need a lot of people behind me to keep me going.
And you're like, oh, and I have an acupuncturist. And I thought that's brilliant, because
Yep.
you have to plan for success. There's
Mhm.
no accident. Not even Rihanna accidentally became successful. That's whatever stories being told on, oh, look, I just showed up on a Tuesday and I became successful. That doesn't happen in business anyways. So
So I'd love that you mentioned that, because that's kind of something I'm thinking about. So how do we just, as business owners, how do we discern that the present moment is one that we choose, or that it's being chosen for us?
I love that question, because I think when we're focused, when we are in the key to what we need to focus on initially is being in the present moment. Now, think about it, everyone. You were all business owners. How often are we thinking about, oh my gosh, yesterday I didn't call the 5 people I was supposed to call. I only called 2 people. And then tomorrow, I got to plan out for tomorrow, because that's what every successful person says is you should put your to-do list for tomorrow, tonight, before you go to bed. But we never really look and take advantage of the present moment and what the present moment has to offer. And the present moment right now as an entrepreneur is you get to choose. You get to choose whether or not you're going to make that call, even if it's just one, but you plan 5. One
Right.
is better than nothing,
Right.
right? Or, right, in that present moment, even though the email should have gone out at 8 a.m., but you just now finished and it's 12:30, the present moment, you get to choose. Do I send that email, or I'll do it tomorrow? How many of us do that? I'll do it tomorrow, right? And then we get mad at ourselves, because it's like, oh my gosh, we waited again. And then we waited
Well,
again.
yeah, I mean, that's really valid, because we're, we want to be our word, and we want to be, do things in a timely fashion. But it just reminds me, like, I had an event and I was going to send out the email the next day. I had some technical difficulties with Eventbrite. And then frankly, sometimes, like, it's better to get it later and have the Cyndi with a fresh brain than the tired Cyndi the night before. So there's a lot of
Because that's the
ways that we have
present
to choose.
moment.
Right.
Yeah. Because the present moment right now, ladies and gentlemen, every day there's this thing that hits me, and it's usually about 2 o'clock. I have to take a nap. That's the present moment. In order for me to function at my highest potential for the rest of the day, I got to take a 30-minute nap.
To be your
And I used
best
to
self.
beat myself up for that. I used to be like, oh, why do I take a nap? That's so, now I'm missing out on all this. But my productivity is so much better because I honored that present moment to choose into listening to my body and taking a nap.
That's beautiful. And that's so important. We need to do that and not make ourselves wrong, but just honor that that's what we need. So
Yeah.
we were honored to have you as our spotlight speaker at our September event. It's our second in-person event that we've transitioned to. So it was really great to have your energy and your insights to share. But I'd love the way you said, choose now, choose
Mhm.
you, choose truth. And that is so empowering, where we get to choose. We don't have to be the victim. That's how we get out
Right.
of the victim mode, right? By choosing power.
Yes. Yes. Because I think I've heard it, I mean, probably through my therapist, through another coach, through media, television, is that is our greatest superpower, is we get to choose for ourselves the life we want. And it may not be what we imagine it, right? Like, did I really want my niece to steal my business? So then I have to liquidate all my assets, but it's what the present moment was presenting.
Right.
And I could choose to be a victim to it, take my car, run her over. Okay, I'm sorry if that, or just take a breath and allow the pain to run through me so that I can go through the process of grief, right?
Yeah, and forgive and move on and not be stuck in that mode, right?
Right, exactly.
So you and I were talking just in preparation for this conversation, and I was just really moved by, and I think it would be something to share with our people that are joining us today and those watching the replay, is how it wasn't what you chose. The betrayal, the transition from being a brick and mortar business owner to an entrepreneur. But it had you create a whole new community that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Right. No, absolutely. And, and that's the thing. So many people, I'm going to use, if you all don't mind, network marketing as an example, because they have a really incredible model, right? Their model is fantastic, no matter what industry, no matter what company it is. But their model is make a list of people and get a hold of them, let them know what you're doing. Because so often we're talking about show up. But when we're in traditional type businesses, we think, oh, they'll come to us. Yeah, we could be waiting a long time for that to happen, right? And so I think about it in that space where when I went from the brick and mortar, lost my community, and then I move online space and I got to create a new community. Oh man, the courage it takes to be 47 years old and then to do that. You know what I mean? Like, what? No, I don't want to. I've already worked hard. I've already spent 25 years working really hard. I got to do this again. But that's what it takes to start. And then I had to get past being shy, going to networking groups. Like, I remember going to my very first Exceptional Connections live event before COVID. And I was really nervous. Because I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what to say. I'd never been to networking before. Our brick and mortar wasn't part of our marketing strategy, was to network. I'd never networked before. So I didn't know what do I say? What am I saying? Am I supposed to just throw cards at people? And I didn't even have cards. I was like, oh my gosh, right? And I think that to be an entrepreneur is to truly be courageous. Like, I don't see anybody who chooses into entrepreneurship and not in the same breath, today I'm brave, because it takes bravery to do what we do, ladies and gentlemen, to get out there and to get criticized, judged by people we'll never meet and don't know, to show up for the people who need us. Right? We have to weed through all that crap to get to the good stuff.
That's so true. And I think that's beautiful that you brought that up, because that truly is the second step to unleash your abundant life, right? Making this shift to embracing opportunities. And really being courageous. I love that word, because I think each and every one of us, that are on this call right now, and probably those that are listening, you were attracted to this and it resonated with you, because we have to be courageous. We have to choose powerfully. We have to put ourselves, our truth, our, first, and not diminish that. Because there's a lot of, I'll just call it misrepresentation and lies out there, even in the world of social media, where, like you said earlier, they're espousing authenticity, but it's not authentic. It's really kind of canned, and And
Yeah,
it's a perspective that they want you to have of them. It's not reality in many
right.
cases.
Because there's an underlying motive there.
And
So
that's what's so hard for people to live up to, is they feel like that's real when it's really just, anyway, that's a whole other rabbit trail. But the main point is just, what you're talking about is really embracing the opportunities.
yeah. And I think the key word to that is embrace, because there's opportunities all the time. The opportunity to show up here today, the opportunity to connect with the people here afterwards, right? The opportunity to grow together. Like I have wanted to meet Charlie and Heather because I've been seeing all their stuff, but the opportunity presented itself right now, but it's an embracing part, because
Yes.
there's all kinds of insecurities we already exist in outside of being an entrepreneur, right? Like,
Yes.
oh, this girl rejected me in the 4th grade and that's still running through me in some way, kind of thing.
Right.
Or, or yesterday I called 5 people and 4 of them said no to me. Being said no, I know there's all kinds of language out there of like, oh, get to 100 no's before you get to the 1 yes. 4 no's hurts. I don't care who you are.
Yep.
4 no's hurt because you're putting yourself out there. This is your thing. This is who you are. And people are just like, nah, I'm good. Or, and 100 no's. I get it. I get the theory behind getting through 100 no's, but I feel like that embracing the opportunity of the no's is going to land you that amazing yes. That's really what the messages behind that. And I think those are the messages that we forget, because believing in ourselves takes work. That's a lot of internal work, right? A lot of internal positive validation, affirmation, getting yourself around people who believe in you so you can believe in yourself. And no, oh my gosh, ladies, I know ladies suffer more than this than you, Chuck, but especially when we had to go virtual, I had to stare at yourself all the time. Or you know what I'm saying? Or like
Yeah,
your pictures
that's true.
like, I don't know if this is going to be a good picture because it was a picture 10 years ago when I was like 10 years later. I mean, you're prejudging yourself already.
Yeah, we're our own worst enemies for sure.
Right.
We are.
All of that is plaguing us as entrepreneurs in the same breath that we're like, we want to impact the world.
Right.
We want to change people's lives. We're here to help them transform from one thing to another, but we have to be those things that we're promising other people.
Oh my gosh, so many good messages in that. Okay, so I want to go back to, you mentioned failure earlier and how that's part of the whole, package and process. So as a business owner, we're told that failure is not the opposite of success. It is success, right?
Right.
But what role do you believe failure really plays in being successful as a small business owner or entrepreneur?
Well, I think I want to go to this space called knowing and being, right? So when we fail, like when that happened to me, now mind you, we had been in business 25 years. We had been worth $1 million. We had built this really fruitful life, both professionally and personally. And when that happened to us, it took me down to the studs of who I was, right? To the point where my only desire was to be a functioning alcoholic and to work in a warehouse. Now, I knew that I'd been successful and I knew that this was, but being in that space of like, that's really where the imposter syndrome, I think, really plagues us as entrepreneurs, is because we know what we're doing. We know that we're all educated and experts in our field because we know what it takes. But being that thing is a whole different ballgame. And that's what I think failure is ultimately trying to teach us, is you can know, but being that is a whole different thing, right? So I know what abundance is.
Yes.
I know it. There's a definition in the library, in the dictionary, but being abundant is a different ballgame, because being abundant means that I hold no bars in giving. Because when you're abundant, you're just overflowing,
Right.
right?
Yes. And you have to give it away.
Right. Because it's like your garden parties. You get so many squash. I mean, you could turn into a squash. You have so much squash.
I eat enough lately. Yes, that's true.
But your heart and your space is the abundance is like, what am I going to do with all this? So then you offer it to other people to come to your house. You don't ask us to pay at the door, right? Donate to my squash fund. You don't ask us to bring anything. You just ask us to be present with you. And that's the giving space. And I feel like, and then you give us lessons, and the first year I kind of failed at this thing, and I failed, but you learned, and every year it just got better and better. And I feel like that betrayal taught me the greatest lesson of, I was, because we started so young, and I was at that space. I didn't know it at the time, but I was at that space that I was really prideful. Like, I did this. My husband and I worked to the bone, and we did this. Something bigger was at play, y'all.
Right.
Something bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I love the quote by Zig Ziglar. Failure is a detour, not a dead end street. And that's really, kudos to you for really being able to distinguish that for yourself, right? Because it felt like just a closed door, not only to your business, but to your life, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
But you created a whole new path, a whole new opportunity for you. And I imagine an inspiration for your kids who saw, hey, mom's unstoppable. And, what a great lesson to your kids and grandchildren as well.
And I mean, but you said it in our conversation so many times. It's how you show up that really inspires people around us. It's not what we do or say all the time. There's this perfect balance of that, but how you show up in that energy is really what people want, right? So.
Right. And it's not, the saying, fake it till you make it. It always bothers me because it feels so inauthentic, right? Fake it till you make it. It's like, why not be, like you're saying, authentically, just really embracing the whole idea of who you're being. Like, I'm being abundance. You're not faking abundance, right?
Right. Yes. I mean, because I keep looking at women in leadership, because that's what their name is in the little square there. Because when you think about it, leaders don't have to tell people they're leaders. They just are. They just show up in that energy and in that space. They are being the thing. And Chuck and I had a great conversation at the event of just sharing our little battles that we have with our potential clients of like, the reality of business is this, and you've got to work through some things. You got to have all these things. And I think about, we don't have to be struggle all the time. We don't have to be successful all the time. It's just a part of the journey. So you don't communicate it as often as when people are marketing that, right?
Yes. Yes, so beautiful. Well, we're going over time a little bit, but we're going to get that last step in here. So the solution, what is the solution?
Is we have to unlock possibility. But where is the key, people? Where is the key to unlock this door to possibility? And it's in repetition. It's in habit. So repetition is habit. And one thing entrepreneurs are masters at, we are habitual, repetitious, abundant, compassionate, giving, big thinker people. Like, there's no successful entrepreneur who consistently and habitually think negative. That just cannot work. We're positive all the time. We're always looking to see what's the next thing, right? Where, that failed. 5 people said no, but tomorrow I got 5 new people to, right? Because how many entrepreneurs actually give up? They say typically it's like a 3-year journey. Right. And in that 3-year journey, you're going to get a lot of disappointments, a lot of no's, a lot of people who are in your face. I'm so excited about what you're doing. Oh my gosh, I'm so in. And then you never hear from them again. It's crickets.
That's your learning curve, right?
Yeah.
It's our learning curve.
And that's really, but the possibility is in the space of true abundance attracts people. You don't have to chase people. Chasing is for the birds. Chasing is that hustle, it's that grind. And that's usually within the first 2 years of business where you're chasing people down because you want to make sure. But at a certain point in business, you're just the being that's attracting people to you because people want what you have to offer because you're already an expert in it, right? And because we have to really pay attention to intention.
Yes.
Again, back to Chuck and I's conversation is it's intentional. Success is intentional. Planning is intentional. Strategy is intentional. Prospecting is intentional.
Yes.
Like, were you just going to go to Safeway and run into 5 people that you're going to sell your products to? I mean, no one even wants to be sold to.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so many good words here. So the repetition, you mentioned it, but it's just about being consistent, right?
Oh, yeah.
Doing things consistently till they're, just they come naturally. So when we do our commercials and you do, you go to networking events, at first you're crafting it, you're getting, really want to be specific on what you want to say so you don't wander. And it feels stiff and it doesn't feel authentic. But with practice, then you could use your, hand gestures and you can have more eye contact and you can enunciate things. And then it just becomes really part of who you are. So we need to, as business owners and entrepreneurs, give ourselves the time to, what do they say? You're got to be terrible before you could be good.
Right. Yeah.
Got to be great before you can be awesome. And you got to give ourselves that time to ramp up.
Right. Right.
And not to say, oh, this doesn't work.
Be molded into the thing that we're becoming, because I think people just want it to happen so fast. Well, I invested $300. I should be a millionaire yesterday. I mean,
that's right.
When you think about that, that capital is tiny in comparison to what your potential income could be, right? But you have to grow it. You have to be the thing that success expects.
Yes.
Because my mom used to always say, if you're greedy when you're poor, you're going to be greedy when you're rich.
Mom wisdom. I love it. It's true. That doesn't change, so the character is there. It's just the money is, part of the equation. So got a kind of a last thought before we just close here, because I want to make sure I give you a chance to kind of tie a bow around everything. So it reminds me, and we talked about this, when I walk into a room, it's your mindset a lot, right? Who we're being and our mindset. And so kind of a sobering thought for me is like, who do I want to be walking into a networking event, say, or any kind of a meeting? Do I want to be somebody that people run to, right, to connect with me, or they run away from me? And that's always been a very sobering thought. So who we're being in the moment, if we're being, treating people like they have a bullseye on their chest, nobody wants that, right? None of us want to be a target. But we want to be in community with people. We want to get to know people. We want to, plant, like the gardening analogy, plant the seeds and be nurtured. Who doesn't want to be nurtured? Who doesn't want to be watered? Who doesn't want to be attended to, right?
Totally. And I think that is the key to unlocking possibility, right? And that will really bring forth the abundance in your life, because we often say so much as business owners, oh, we're in the relationship business. Well, what do your relationships look like? Because my relationship with my best friend is a relationship I bring to the table as a business coach as well.
Mhm.
Right? That like I have pay the same kind of attention. I'm not as available
Mhm.
as I would be for my best friend, but the availability is there and I'm open
Yes.
to it, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's really those three key points has led me to this space of I'm not sitting in the bitterness and the unforgiveness of what it could be, but I'm more like, you know what, that failure served me well. Now I'm done with that. It's time
Mhm.
to be prosperous now. It's like what you say with gardening, it's all seasonal. Now I'm
Mhm.
in that was a season of pruning. My failure,
Mhm.
the betrayal was a season of pruning. Now I'm in the season of harvesting.
Yes.
So
And you
I
had to
think
go through
your
both.
yeah, your gardening analogy is my favorite. Like it is so relatable to how a business cycle moves. Because you got to do that often. Plant the seed, water it, tend to it, prune it, pick it, harvest again, right?
Yeah.
You got to do it again and again and again and again.
You do need to be consistent. And it's not a one and done. It's not just check off, like check,
Right.
because
Oh
you got to
gosh.
continually prune, continually, I just planted more lettuce out there. My other lettuce bolted. And so it's a continual process. So
Right.
tell us what, give us kind of bring us home here, because I want to make sure we
Lean
have
in
an
it.
opportunity to open the lines and ask for questions. And I know that Heather and Charlie have been great about putting things in the chat box. I want to give them a chance to chime
They're
in here.
having
So
way too much fun over there.
Always.
are you guys having a party? So
Every day. It's a work party.
why don't we go ahead and open it up for Q&A here?
Yeah.
So feel free. And I know Charlie, and like I said, you guys were talking about, you were really adamant about choosing, like how important it is to choose. So share some of your insights that you kind of put notes in the chat box.
Well, we've actually been toying with working with this idea of choosing or deciding since the beginning of the year. So it's been almost a full year of choosing and deciding and what that looks like. And it has been a very, very abundant year. So it works.
Yeah, I love it. I wrote down I just living in abundance mindset. Life will be okay. Like I always say, life. What do I say? Life, and life. What is it? It happens to or for you, not to you. And those, so that I like this, life will be okay. I feel like that's the next level of what I've been saying. I was like, that's awesome. And I'm already rooted. I liked that too. That will look great. We'll get to the other side of this. It's super huge, right?
Yeah, she made 5 pages of notes.
No, you know what? I love that you've got mantras that are helping guide you, right?
Yes, all the time, because I feel like I've been working on the process of getting rid of the negative self-talk. I kind of got the whiteboard. Now I got to put new stuff on there, right?
Yes, you
And I'm
do.
I can't just be sitting here going, you're not allowed to say that, so it's time to be putting new stuff on the whiteboard, right?
It's beautiful.
So
the one about life, have you heard this one? Life keeps lifing along.
yes. Yes, I love it. It does, right? And if our joy is bigger, it doesn't matter.
Right. I mean, there's this one little phrase that has consistently been the mantra silently in my mind when this whole thing started is, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed. So that I've heard my whole life, but I never knew what a mustard seed was. So I went and looked it up. I'm like, what is this mustard seed about? It's tiny. And I was like, wait, what? If I had faith as small as a mustard seed, I could move a mountain. And that's when it really changed the way I viewed that, because it's kind of like what Heather and Charlie are saying. That's literally it. All you needed was this tiny, tiny dream. But if you believed in it and you nurtured it and you watered it and you loved on it and
Yes.
you gave it the shade it needed and the sun it needed, eventually it becomes this thing that can move an entire mountain of your garbage junk thoughts, right? Because that's really what the mountain is a huge giant pile of nasty thoughts.
Yes.
So I love that so much. I'm really excited to get to know you even more, Heather and Charlie, because I know you come as a team now.
Oh, beautiful. And Nancy's there. Nancy wants to, she's raising her hand. We can't hear you, Nancy.
You can hear me, can't you?
Oh, there we can. Now we can.
Yeah. So, you know, when you were talking about the nose, I love the nose because I learned this from my support team years ago, and it's my most favorite saying, and it addresses what you were talking about with the nose. And it's the discipline of divorcing yourself from the emotions that occur from the daily activity. That was game changer for me. And so that's what I try and instill in people, because I feel that there is a negative emotional response to the word failure and the word no. And failure and no mean, what can I learn from this moment so I can be better? Better
Right.
only meaning my next attempt, what result does that give me? And to me, the whole journey is just these baby steps of learning from the stuff where I make mistakes. And some of the mistakes I've made for a long time before it went, oh.
Yeah. And that's why I love the model of network marketing. I love the model of this industry, because if you really grasp the roots of what it's teaching you, you can take that same formula and start any business
Anywhere.
and it'll be
Anywhere.
phenomenal. Because it's rooted in its truth, right? It's rooted in the space of, like, you've got to learn how to get thick skin and deal with the nose and the naysayers and the whole thing. But it's really not failure. I mean, yeah, it does hurt, but then you also have to deal with those emotions of like, oh, my friend who was like all about it is now like, yeah, I don't want to do it. You really have to make a decision. Oh, are you going to be friends with this person still or not? And if you're not disciplined enough to say, oh, it's not personal, it's just the moment isn't right?
Or timing. It could be timing, right?
Totally.
Timing's everything.
My goal has to be, for myself, has to be stronger than someone's lack of understanding, period, because that's all it is.
Right. And Cyndi said something earlier that was so brilliant. She says, I don't look at sales as sales. I look at it as education. I need to educate people about what I have to offer, because that's truly what sales is. Educate.
But that's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
And that's what I found is that, sales is sales. And in the end, it is, a transaction. But I was like, how do I get myself out of this, kind of negative or this cycle? And to me, it's like I had to reframe it. I had to reframe sales to something that I can relate to. And it's, the end result is you want people to do business with you. You want to make that inviting. But I do it in the way where and I know Nancy does this too, where it's all about educating people on what you have, what you offer. And then it's up to them to take advantage of it if and when that's of interest to them.
Right.
They know where to go. They know where your store is. Right.
Yeah.
But one more thing, and I want to let you close here, or if anybody has any other questions. I love the idea that network marketing is really, I see it as a journey of personal development.
Totally.
I've heard that
money or not, it remains to be seen, because not everybody makes money. There's not everybody that's the big, money earner in the company. But, if you focus on it and you're intentional, the personal development piece is priceless.
Right. And I think any business that it's just with direct sales, it's already embedded into the program. But as an entrepreneur, we have to seek that.
You have to seek it out. Yeah. I
Right.
agree.
And I think that that's the key piece to anybody who is successful. Like, I have never met a successful person in business who didn't say, I've had great mentorship. I had a budget for personal development, and I really became aware of who I am as a person. Like,
Yeah.
these are like the cornerstone of success.
Right.
It is that space versus selling 8 billion units of something.
Right. For sure. For sure.
So-
So I'm looking at the chat box, and Charlie and Heather were talking about, practicing receiving 100 no's. They were kind of supporting you with that idea. Fire yourself at night, but start again in the morning. I love that.
That
Those
is
are-
good.
Those are great. So Chuck said he had to go to another meeting at 1, but he loved the presentation, excellent content and insights. So he had to jump
I had
off.
a really great conversation with him at the last event, and we're very like-minded in the way that we approach business and how we, bring our clients in and things like that, because I get social media is a big, big space for businesses because, number one, it's free marketing. Number two, it is global free marketing, but it isn't the only thing that needs to function as your marketing strategy. Because if it is, that's more work than what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Because you need to be on that thing. And so there has to be a whole nother, your marketing mix needs to be planned, and it needs to happen. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, no, I love that. So does anybody else have you're welcome to unmute yourself if you have a final question. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it back to Wonderful, because you had a quote by Pablo Picasso, which I think was just brilliant. And I want to give you a chance to kind of end with, talking about great leaders. So I'll just, why don't we go ahead, and I don't see anybody unmuting themselves. So go ahead and share that thought.
Let me get that up. So this quote, where did it go here? Sorry, ladies. Let me go.
I put it in our notes if you want to.
Okay, here it is.
Check
I
that.
got it. Yeah, I closed my phone. He said, the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. So I read this book called Power versus Force, and we emit on a biological space 12 feet of energy around us. And I think that there's this thing called, I learned it from Zig Ziglar many years ago, givers gain. And then all of these personal development spaces have used that as sort of their mantra, is givers gain, is when you give, you gain. That's truly the abundant life, right? And so when you find your gift, whatever that gift is, and your entire purpose of that gift is to give it away, the fruits of your labor is unlimited. It's a limitless possibility of your potential in earning and in impact and in inspiration and in influence and in relationships. Is the mantra needs to be that you find your gift and you give it away. So I give away a ton. Like I follow the protocol of, here's the 30-minute free call, but that 30 minutes is 30 minutes.
Yeah. It's just a guideline, right?
Yeah.
You're so generous.
Because honestly, I want women to be successful in business. There's no reason not to, unless you choose out. If you choose not to, that's cool too. But if you choose in, I am with you. I want to support you. I want to give you the tools that you need to be successful to my best ability.
Yes. So tell our listeners who aren't, who are on the call and are listening to this after the fact, how can they connect with you? How can they?
No, I'm just kidding.
No. Get to know you better. Take advantage of your services.
So there's many, many ways. Call me. Here's my phone number. I'm kidding. No, but you can. 206-818-8611 if you want to text. I'm not as available on phone calls, but I have a community in Facebook that is geared for women entrepreneurs. There's a few men in there sprinkled where it's just about resources. I want really people to share what they do. So because you don't know who needs what you have to offer. So that is Biz LeadHERship Community.
And that's BIZ.
BIZ, yes. Because they wouldn't let me put the whole thing on there.
Right.
And then
spell that out. BIZ.
BIZ and then LeadHER Ship Community. So it's leadership, but her is in there. And then the same with my website, it's LeadHERacademy.com. We are a online business education platform. I am a business coach inside of LeadHER Academy. So all the information would be on the website. And I almost said March. Unbelievable. September 26th, which is next Monday, I offer a free 90-minute class on how to create a captivating one-liner. So it goes back to this whole networking thing. When I first went to Cyndi's event, I had never done a pitch. I've done pitches before, but never in a networking marketing space. And she says to everybody who walks in, everybody in the room is going to get 30 seconds to share, or I think it was a minute to share. And I remember panicking on the inside. I'm like, what? I have to talk. I have to say something. And you were so sweet about it. You're like, okay, this is how how you do it, your name, your company, and what you do and who it's for. Oh my gosh, I wanted to be last so badly. And then she says, if you're new, you're first. I'm like, oh my God, no.
That was just to introduce you, but yeah.
So now, and I knew the concept, I just had never done it. So I now teach a 90-minute class on how to put out your captivating one-liner. That's exactly follows that model.
I love it.
What you do, who you are, and who you do it for.
Yeah.
Because your brand is being represented right out the gate.
Yes.
Right? That's your first touch point, is your introduction. And if it's not powerful or captivating, people they just scroll past you. So
this is time sensitive, people. But this is something that you offer ongoingly. So if
so once a month.
If you miss the date, because again, this is going to be, the replay will be time sensitive. If you miss the date, go to her website and take advantage of the one she's offering the following month, because she does a 90-minute free mini course. And then tell us about the offering that you have for people who want to take advantage of your 6-week.
So I have a method to my madness in creating a very successful, profitable business. And it is to be very refined in our branding, to communicate our message clearly, because you could literally have gold, but unless people know that it's gold, nobody is going to be interested. So my 6-week program, Build My Brand, is about refining and defining your brand so you communicate it effortlessly with strength so that people can know, like, and trust you right off the bat. So that's what that 6-week program is. And then that leads into our Standout Marketing 3-month program. That's about a comprehensive marketing plan for you to actually stand out in the sea of 8 billion people in the world.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful.
So,
well, thank you. And so wonderful. Do you have any closing remarks before we close here? We went a little early over, but we also started a little bit late. So,
Cyndi, what day?
So the free online mini course is Monday, September 26th at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then her 6-week is Wednesday, September 28th. And it's every Wednesday. Is that right?
Yes. It's once a week
at 11 a.m. And so if you miss it, go to her website and plug into the monthly course that she's offering.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So wonderful. Just bring us home. What do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Closing thought is that we women are way more powerful than we imagine, and we have the opportunity to change the world one person at a time. Because I have read a statistic that for every one woman healed, 5 people are saved. And it's not about rescuing, it's not about that. But if we have impact on 5 people to change the course of history, why not take advantage of that now? Right? Do it now. Show up in our greatest version of self, good and bad, and authentic and vulnerable, so that the reality of who we are can be really seen in the world. That's what makes us powerful.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for, just your contribution to our Exceptional Connections live community, as well as this conversation to connect. It has been just a joy to be able to share with you and, kind of have the support of the community and their responses as well. And so I just want to leave everybody with this. Remember to make every connection an exceptional connection. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.